Hello, I'm Thomas Hare, Chief Content Officer of the Performance-Driven Marketing Institute, a not-for-profit trade association that serves companies in the performance and direct-to-consumer marketing world. Welcome to the third and final event in our winter seminar series, today created by the PDMI's e-commerce council, titled Too Late for TikTok? We welcome all of you to today's event, PDMI members and non-members alike. If you're not a PDMI member but are attending today, we'd love to have you consider joining the association. There's no better way to support the mission of the PDMI than joining and sharing your voice in the direction of the industry. In the handouts tab of your control panel, you'll find our PDMI membership brochure. I urge you to download it, flip through it, and contact any of our team members should you desire more information. Just one more housekeeping note, the group will be addressing any questions from the audience at the end of today's session, but you don't have to wait to ask them. Utilize the questions tab on your control panel to type and send your question in. We'll be collecting them and we'll try to get to as many as possible in the final moments of the webinar. Today, the PDMI's e-commerce council welcomes this group of experts to present an exclusive in-depth conversation about the social media outlet of the moment. You've heard the buzz, TikTok's viral videos are everywhere. You've seen the stats, bigger than YouTube, but you have yet to get into this new performance marketing channel. You know you have the creative assets, or at least the creative concepts, but how do you use them? Is TikTok right for performance marketers? And if so, how can you get started tomorrow? Our group hopes to give you a few answers you can use immediately. Unfortunately, Patrick Raymond, CEO and president of Really Cool Ideas, had to bow out of today's event earlier this morning. We wish him well and look forward to welcoming him back to one of our PDMI stages soon. Who is here with us? Lindsey Carnett, CEO and president of Southern California-based marketing Maven, Eric Morgan, president of Utah-based Elemerce, and our moderator and e-commerce council chairman, Gregory Silvano of the newly rebranded Buyist, based in Boston, where it's a glorious 65 degrees today, really 2 days ahead of our next nor'easter. We welcome all of you. Thank you all for joining us. Greg, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Tom. Okay, so we're going to go right into it. This is unscripted, so we'll go back and forth with lots of different topics. Eric, we're going to start with you. We are talking about social media, right? So how does TikTok compare for a user compared to other social media platforms, just so we can get a lay of the land and what it is we're talking about here. So for users, how does it differ from Instagram or Facebook or YouTube?
Yeah, there are some very key differences, I think, with TikTok, more so than in the past when we've seen other social media platforms pop up here and there. One huge difference is it's not centered as much around your friends. It's more entertainment, not as informational. So I call it maybe snackable entertainment feed. It's maybe a good description. Very short pieces of content that you're digesting as well and viewing.
So even if it's video, right? So heavily video based, if not obviously entirely video based. So I think of YouTube. I go to YouTube and I'm going to learn something, right? So I want to go figure out how to do something, not necessarily just entertainment. Are you saying that on the TikTok side of things, it's not to learn things, it is pure entertainment based?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it's been evolving for sure.
What about the length of the content, right? So people who are on TikTok, I think of Facebook and you can have videos and long posts, and I go to Instagram and it's photos and stories and things like that. Very much moment of opportunity. I could just go in for a few minutes into Instagram and walk out, and I don't feel like I've missed something. How does TikTok fit into that world? Is it also just moments of opportunity, or are you investing time as a user into it?
Yeah, I think it's people use it as a user, I think, to just relax and like be entertained in short segments. Like you could watch 30 videos in under a few minutes, versus YouTube, you're staying there longer, you're digging in deeper, you're maybe even searching for something. TikTok is just, I'm bored, or it's very emotional. Yeah, depending on the type of content you want to look at on TikTok as well. It can make you happy. It can make you sad. It can, if you want to feel sappy about something, like it'll feed you what you're into and learn. It has its own algorithm that learns that as well. So it's very, very short segments. I'd say 10 to 30 seconds on average for each piece of content that you're viewing.
Ooh, how much was that?
Yeah, 10 to 30 seconds, very short.
Really? Okay, yeah, it's very short. Lindsey, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it is entertainment based. It's very unique that, the content that you create there is different than content that's YouTube content, different than Facebook content, and different than Instagram content. So
there's no precedent to this? Is TikTok just an entirely new beast? We haven't seen something like it before, or is it a rebirth of something else that, you know, has come and gone already?
I mean, Vine was the 6-second type of piece, and Vine died on the vine. But I think that, you know, TikTok definitely is bigger than what Vine was. And there is a big music component too. I think that you had mentioned that it came from Musically. So there definitely is, you know, there's a lot of humor used in TikTok. So I think from a brand perspective, it's not so serious. It's not like LinkedIn. It's not like Facebook, like we're saying. It definitely, there's a lot of stuff native to the TikTok platform that somebody has to understand before jumping into it.
What's the audience on TikTok like? Is it a different demographic? Is it a different type of audience? We know that the volume, you know, the size of the audience is huge. It's not as big as Facebook. It's not as big as Instagram, right? It delivers a lot of video content, right? And it clearly has a lot of buzz, and it has a very big audience. Is that audience fundamentally different than an audience that is on Facebook? Because for performance marketers, audience matters, right? I mean, who cares if it's a bunch of 9-year-olds that aren't ever going to buy anything? Who cares? Is that the case?
We thought TikTok was a lot of teeny boppers initially, and you know, since it's grown so much, you have people of all ages on TikTok. My friends' parents are in their mid 60s, and they're TikTok influencers, and they are singing, you know, romantic duets to each other. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, look how many views my parents' content has gotten. I'm so embarrassed," you know. So the audience is very wide and diverse.
Interesting. Eric, anything on that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's shifted to initially, you know, Snapchat was very young audience, and it never kind of grew out of that phase. But I feel like TikTok started out very young, and that gap is definitely not as big as it was. We're getting more and more older demographics in general joining TikTok. So I think it's shifting even more so in that direction in the future too.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about the audience of TikTok, right? What the audience experience is like, what the type of content is like. So let's get into the advertising and the actual marketing piece of it. There are two pieces to this, right? And it's interesting because before we talked, before this call, the second one never occurred to me, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm just wildly ignorant here, but I was thinking along the Facebook side of things, where I think of people who are driving traffic from Facebook. It's paid media. They're buying ads, and then the ads might be video, they might be photos, or, you know, images or whatever, but it's paid media, and that is just how I think of Facebook. And when I think of Instagram, there's paid media, and there's also influencers, of course. You know, you think of influencers and you think of Instagram. When I was thinking of TikTok before we spoke, my mindset was all about paid media. What is it like? What is that advertising platform like? And what are the rates like? And what's the content like? And we'll go through all that. But shortly, you know, immediately after putting that out there, Lindsey, you talked about influencers, and that maybe that's not to, you know, go too far down that path, but influencers are a big part of a marketing campaign if you're thinking of TikTok. Is that a fair assumption or fair conclusion?
Yeah, we love using TikTokers because they are very inexpensive as opposed to an Instagram influencer. I mean, we'll use a variety of Instagram influencers, YouTubers, etc. But to take a TikTok piece of content, get the rights to it, and then use it on another social channel where your brand has a bigger presence, and actually put paid money behind it on another channel, I think is a really effective use of a TikTok influencer profile.
So when you're thinking about TikTok and you're thinking about putting money into TikTok to drive traffic to something, your first thought is influencers, not paid media. Okay.
100%.
Eric,
organic influencer content.
Got it. Eric, and we'll go back to this in just a second. Eric, talk to me about the paid media side of this thing. You've had paid media through TikTok. What was it like? What was actually, I'll ask specific questions. What was the platform like as a as an advertising buying platform, right? I can go to Facebook and I can buy ads. I can go to Google Ads and buy ads. I could do that easily. Can I do that in TikTok? Could any marketer go up and buy some TikTok ads?
Yeah, you can. They've come a long way there, though. I'd say 9 to 12 months ago when I first started running paid ads on TikTok, it was absolutely horrible. One of the worst back-end advertising platform systems I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was so bad. We stopped it for a couple of months, and then we kind of came back. All right, we'll give this a try again. But just little things. I mean, just payment system. You would have to like connect it to the bank account and deposit money, and then wait for that to deplete, and then your ads turn off for a week because you ran out of money and there's no notification. You have to log back in and give it some more money. It was bad. I mean, now they accept credit cards and their back-end system is more intuitive and just the user interface is easier to understand. I can tell just because I do a lot of work in Facebook advertising platform as well. It is very evident if anybody that's familiar with Facebook advertising logs into the backend of the TikTok advertising platform, you will see very similar layouts. They've tried to structure it very similar. Same thing like happened with Bing and Google. Bing and Yahoo really tried to model after Google at the time. And it's probably smart on their end, what people are used to. And so the interface now is, I'd say it's easy. I'd say Facebook is still more sophisticated in some of the other platforms. But you can easily go in and set up a campaign and start running some ads at this point in time. It wasn't like that, a while ago, but they made some definite improvements there.
Have you ever had to deal with the company itself, right? So when I hear about Facebook and somebody's talking about digital marketing with Facebook, I often hear the phrase, I got to talk to my Facebook rep. Does that exist in TikTok? I mean, everything's great if it's going great. If it's not going well, are they a responsive company? If you were to compare them to Facebook, do they even compare?
Yeah, that's a great question. My perspective is going to be a little bit unique, maybe, in the fact that I have an agency rep there. And I think brand reps are probably similar if you just have a direct account. But that's something where I was very surprised. They are very helpful, very responsive. It seems like they prefer more direct one-on-one communication, at least in my experience, meaning I have one point of contact. Every time I have an issue, I reach out to that person and they help me, which has pros and cons. You're dealing with the same person that's familiar with your account, which is nice, but if they get sick, then you have to find other people to help you. But that has been very good, I feel. And that's always been great, even from the very beginning when their back-end system was horrible, like they still had pretty good support. So I feel like they've done well there. One thing that I do like about TikTok more than if people have experienced Facebook reps or Google reps, like one thing I don't like about them is they're very motivated to just spend more money. Like that's their primary motivation. And I don't get that impression with TikTok, they're just trying to have me make bad decisions to spend more money with them on their platform, regardless of the results. So I feel like they're a little more invested. The only drawback I will mention is that most of that staff that I've interacted with is international. There's always that language barrier sometimes. They've been pretty good in terms of English skills and things like that, but that's, sometimes a challenge to just be aware of.
If you had to get on the phone this afternoon and figure out a problem with your campaign and it was on TikTok, Facebook, or Google, how would you rank your eagerness to take on each of those calls? Who would you want to call first and who would you want to call last?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question too. Like I mentioned with TikTok, I feel like they're very responsive. If it's an urgent need, like, something major, I need it fixed now, that is a weakness with TikTok because again, a lot of their staff is overseas, so I may not get a response till the next day. A little more difficult to just pick up the phone and call them directly. But they also have a general support system that just goes to lower tier support staff that can help. I do like Facebook the most in that just immediate response, being able to resolve things quickly with their chat support. I feel like that's a really good system. But so I guess it depends. If it was an immediate issue I needed fixed now, I prefer probably Facebook. If it's something that was not as urgent, but maybe even more in depth, I think I feel more comfortable going to TikTok.
So Google's not first, huh?
Google would be last.
Fair enough. All right, I have one more question for you, Eric. We're going to you, Lindsey, on the influencer side in just a second, but there's one more technical thing that I think is important for direct response marketers. At the end of the day, it comes down to attribution. The media spend has to have a return. So what is it like to track results with paid TikTok traffic? Do they have tracking pixels? They have a pretty good system. I mean, clearly Google, Facebook, I mean, they're the 800-pound gorillas of attribution and data and tracking tags. It's a very mature platform and system. Is TikTok there? Is it just as good?
I would say it's pretty close. Yeah, they have their own pixel system. You can set it up and configure it and add unique events just to your own website and whatnot. The only drawback there is just, you know, the iOS changes with Apple. And
are they affected by that?
Yeah, they're affected with that just as much as anybody else. So that's a challenge. But in terms of their, you know, what you can do, it's on par with Facebook and Google, maybe just a slight tier lower because it's not as mature yet.
Okay. All right. So Lindsey, as promised, we're going to go to you for this. So what we've talked about so far is TikTok in general, right? How does it fit in the ecosystem of social media platforms? And then we got into how does paid media, how does it actually just work, right? So if you had to go buy media, do they have the platform to do it? Do you just go in? Do they have reps? What's it like to do? That's all on the paid media side of things. On the influencer side of things, let's also compare, right? So everything that Eric just did was about comparing. If you're coming into TikTok for the first time, how does it compare to something like Facebook? So on the influencer side, let's say you decided, hey, you know what? I want to do an influencer campaign on TikTok, and let's just assume you've done influencer campaigns on Instagram as well. Same thing? Is it the exact same thing? Are there just glaring differences? Are you going to get blindsided by something that you just didn't see coming because there's something unique about TikTok?
If you are a brand that takes yourself too seriously, you for sure are going to get blindsided on TikTok.
Why?
Work with, because it's using humor, it's entertaining, people are saying funny things, and it's meant to give some sort of entertainment value. And so a lot of brands that are so strict on their messaging, so strict on, you know, this needs to happen. We used one TikToker that was hilarious, and he was talking about, you know, narcissistic gifts to give your ex. And it was a sock company where you can put your own face or anybody's face on these socks. And he's like, I want to mail these to my ex-boyfriend, and this is a hotline, and I'm going to do this, and it's the best way to get back at your ex. And so it was hilarious. And the comments were like, oh my gosh, this is the best. And like, I didn't even realize this was an ad. Like people loved this content. And we were able to take it, repurpose it, etc. But if the brand were so serious and they're like, oh, we only want to talk about the quality of the socks, and we only want to talk about their fit, and we only want to talk about, you know, doing this, you know, this particular way, that would have been a total train wreck. But it was a really fun brand that thought outside of the box. And so we picked somebody that would do the brand justice. So part of this is how you pick influencers too. You could pick a really safe influencer on Instagram or a really safe influencer on YouTube too, and give them the message points, etc. Some of these people from Instagram and YouTube are on TikTok. Some people are just like my friends' parents, you know, hey, let's try out TikTok, or I have different realtor friends, or, you know, a bunch that are like, let me just do TikTok videos, and they're new to the platform.
So that's actually a great point. So are TikTok influencers as, you know, mature professionally as what I would perceive an Instagram influencer to be?
If they're just solely TikTok, then no. If they know what they've been doing, they've been working with other brands as an Instagram influencer, then yes, they would know what they're doing. But I think that's probably why the rates are so cheap too.
I was just gonna say, does that translate into?
I mean, it's kind of like a fire sale in terms of influencer marketing to go to a TikTok influencer. Again, if they're the right fit for the brand, that's first and foremost. It has to be a brand fit.
So, and we didn't talk about this before, so hopefully this is a relevant thought. So this is pure unscripted here. One of the reasons, I've always believed one of the reasons, and I doubt it's my own unique thought here, that one of the reasons that TikTok exploded is that it took this concept of, YouTube, where you can create a video very, very quickly, and it put it all just on your phone with all the, the easy content. You didn't even have to speak, right? You could just use the AI voice to do it, right? So it lowered the bar for the creative skill you needed to create content. So you can just take your ideas and do them quicker. But the other thing it did, and I think this is one of the unique things to TikTok, is it made it so that the videos can respond to each other. Right. So you put it out there and it's not on its own, just like an Instagram post. Yeah, people can comment on Instagram posts and they can, you can retweet and Twitter. On this one, it seems like the platform was built so that content that goes out there is immediately, people add on to it all the time. And I wonder if for an influencer or for a brand, and this is where I'm going with this, is it, I would imagine it's easier for them to lose control of the message if you are using an Instagram influencer, because as soon as it's out there, it is now the foundation for a bunch of new content that gets created. Is that a fair assumption?
It is all about impressions. So like you are saying, that it can be a snowball effect. I think everybody says like, I want a viral video. And so, that is always the request, make me a viral video. And videos don't go viral just by themselves. You have to have a strategy behind it. If you remember the Whiff Washer 360 back in the day, and that came from pulling out the offer and pulling out all of these other things and then seeding it internationally. And so to your point, like, it's kind of almost doing it for you and putting it and letting it snowball. But you better start with a really good theme that can't go sideways.
Yeah, right. You'll get canceled, right? I mean,
you don't want to be canceled on the internet.
Yeah, it's a whole new world. All right, Eric, we're coming back to you. So we've decided, not we, but me as a marketer, I've decided that TikTok audience and it makes sense for me, and I want to get in front of that audience. And whether I'm going to do, let's say it's not influencer, it's back to paid, and I understand that I can buy ads. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to buy some ads, and I figured that all out. That's wonderful. Let's talk about the creative. So I have a bunch of assets. I had an infomercial that was running. I've got a Facebook campaign that's going. Am I good to go? Is that what I'm slapping up on TikTok?
Oh, please no. That's probably the biggest mistake that I made, when we first started advertising on TikTok, is just making the assumption that we could take creatives and content that we've used for ads on Facebook or other social channels and repurpose them and just tweak them a little bit and throw them on TikTok, and fingers crossed that it would.
Tried that? That's what you tried?
Yeah, we did, and it just does not work. I think that's more applicable, and that can happen. I think it's fine to do that with Facebook to Instagram, or even we've taken Facebook content, put it on Pinterest, and that seems to work fine. But taking anything that you've developed for a different platform and pushing it to TikTok as an ad, it just doesn't work. That's the one.
What are the differences? So did you, when you put a campaign out there and you repurposed, existing content, did you end up making changes to that content or that strategy or the story or whatever? And what were those changes? And did it actually make any sort of difference?
Yeah, so there's just lots of little nuances with TikTok. A few things. We're now kind of in the phase of just, if we're advertising for any of our clients on TikTok, we just build creatives for TikTok. We don't really use it for anything else. It's from the ground up. We're building it.
It's that different.
Just to be used for TikTok.
Really?
It's got to be shorter. So you want it to be maybe, 10 seconds long. I feel like Facebook, you can get away with more like 30 seconds, even a minute if you want to. You can do short stuff on Facebook too, but TikTok, it's got to be short. It's got to be very fast moving and engaging. Huge difference between Facebook and TikTok is sound too. Like, you need to have good sound on TikTok and have sound on Facebook. You always are making the assumption that sound is off.
Really? Why? What's the difference? Like, is it just entertainment? It goes back to your entertainment content?
Yeah, I think it is entertainment, and it's even deeper than that. It's just the nature of TikTok in and of itself is just sound is so important and critical. Yeah, it's just really important. I'm trying to think of a situation where you'd even open your TikTok app with the sound off. It just wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be as fun. It's just a different experience. Just other little things too. One big mistake I see people make: if you get TikTok and or if you have it already, just scroll through. Pay attention to the ads or even normal content that people are posting. On the right side, you have just the user interface is important to take into consideration too. You've got a bunch of icons and stuff on the right, but the video overlaps with that. So if you're putting messaging in the right and the bottom, there's some areas that you need to be careful of. You got to kind of design the ads to be in a safe zone as well.
Is it yet another aspect ratio?
Yeah, no, that's, vertical 916,
Okay.
and that's pretty standard across other platforms, at least as one of the main options. So that's not as different as others. I'd say hashtags too. Maybe Lindsey can talk about that later, but I feel like hashtags are much more important on TikTok than they are on other platforms, because there's a huge when you're digesting content on TikTok, that's a big thing to click on a hashtag and you see kind of what you were talking about, everything that's been created or similar. It's a very common form of searching for content, where I feel like it's important on other platforms, but not near as important on TikTok.
So is it safe to say that it's not take your 15-second spot, cut another 5 seconds off of it, and slap it up onto TikTok, right? It's the message is entirely. Now, how does it work? If somebody sees it, do they have to see all 10 seconds, or can they get out of it?
No, they can swipe through it
instantly. So it's not like the YouTube, you got 5 seconds to capture their attention thing.
Yeah, it's just quick move. Just more similar to Facebook. You can just keep scrolling, and it's just embedded within the normal content.
Does it start moving automatically?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Lindsey, same type of question. So that was on the paid media side, right? It's the, hey, can I take a Facebook campaign, a Facebook ad and put it up on TikTok? Can I take an Instagram, influencer campaign and contract and all the stuff that I've done on Instagram and instantly feel comfortable in the TikTok world? I mean, are there differences?
You can go from TikTok to Facebook and Instagram, but you can't go from Facebook and Instagram to TikTok.
Why?
It's just canceled on TikTok.
Really?
It just doesn't work. Like the content has to be created native to that TikTok platform. The whole content strategy will be off if it wasn't meant initially to be created for TikTok.
Is it the same people that's creating this content on your side, right? And this could be for Eric too. So is this such a new demographic? Is it such a new audience and a new way of getting your message out there that if Facebook and you've done Instagram, that it just doesn't translate and you need some 18-year-old that knows this stuff? Or is it fairly standard marketing, just a new channel?
It's learnable. Everything's learnable. I mean, this is the whole world of digital. I mean, everything's changing. Like if you thought you knew everything 6 months ago, you don't know everything now. So it's just evolving. So it's just about learning the next platform, learning about what works and what doesn't work. And going back to Eric's question about the hashtags too, I mean, we do a whole hashtag analysis beforehand and say, okay, this is the branded hashtag, this is the conversation that we want to be a part of, etc. So, I mean, you can have stuff that goes across all channels. So the hashtag strategy could be similar for Twitter and for TikTok and for Facebook and for Instagram, that you could use. You could be involved in similar conversations, but it's not going to be the same people necessarily on Instagram as it is on Twitter, or the same people on TikTok as it is on YouTube, etc. So
are the audiences talking about different things on TikTok versus Instagram or Facebook? You go to Facebook and it's all politics, right? It's just people yelling at each other all day long. Is TikTok the same? I mean, is the story that's happening on TikTok the same pop culture type stuff that you're going to find on Instagram or anywhere else? Is it celebrity driven like Instagram, or is it different?
I mean, Eric, do you want to speak to that?
I think it's
mixed bag.
Yeah, I feel like it's not it's not as political. And that again goes back to the nature of TikTok. It's not as tied to your friends, you know, and I feel like that's a huge difference too. I feel is people can generally feel more authentic and vulnerable on TikTok, because on Facebook you're posting things out and you have to, you know, I have the perfect family and, you know, I'm always traveling and I never have any problems with my life. And there's this kind of sometimes this fake persona that people push out. And I don't feel like that's as much of the case on TikTok. It's more just, let's have fun, let's make funny videos and you know, and trends. I think that's another big one is trends. I don't know why Facebook, I just don't see anything where that would be applicable, but on TikTok, there's very defined trends that are happening. A lot of those are tied to hashtags. For example, right now, a few that I noticed is kind of Black awareness, African American, you know, so as a brand, maybe you could run some ads on focusing on how your product, you know, your company contributes to that social issue or helps with it.
Are the trends fleeting? I mean, are there trends that just come and go and they're like within hours, or are they typically something like what you just said, where it's something that could last, you know, for weeks or months?
Yeah, I would say hours. It's at least days or weeks.
Yeah.
There's one. I'll show you. Let's see if I can. There's also like hashtags that certain videos. Like there's one right now. If you guys go watch, there's a certain audio.
You're frightening me, Eric.
It's like people just like they kind of go down, you know, and it has this music that's associated with it. But you tap into that hashtag and people will just watch video after video with the same music, the same kind of script, but it's just, you know, you'll see firemen doing it in a fire station and then a mom
like planking 12 years ago.
So, yeah.
Is it possible as a marketer, direct response, let's talk about, you know, performance marketers today. Is it possible to act quickly enough to get into a trend in a meaningful way? I mean, is that even something that somebody should be thinking about, or are you just going to get lucky or be 2 weeks too late?
I think you can, but and I'm sorry, Lindsay, I know you wanted to say something, but this is another important difference in my opinion with TikTok, with the creatives and especially on the advertising side. It's almost, I wouldn't say taboo, but I wouldn't suggest using your professional photographers and videographers, and it's got to be more authentic and real, and more similar to the user-generated content that people are seeing on TikTok. Whereas Facebook, I feel like you could do either or, but that's a big change, and that's a benefit in my opinion because you can more rapidly create a campaign. You don't have to do all this planning. It's just like you can put something together, even the video and the creative, in a day. I mean, I don't know if I should say this, but even some of my clients, like I'll get my 17-year-old son who's just funny and have him do stuff, and he can outperform like people that I pay a lot of money to make videos on for Facebook or something. So it's not, the barrier to entry is a lot lower, and it's not expected to have as professional and polished ads on TikTok.
So going back to the hashtag. Oh, sorry,
I would use an influencer to do the content on behalf of the brand. So, I mean, that's because if the brand does it themselves, it's almost kind of tainted.
Forced.
Like it just has that other layer to it. So, I mean, because a lot of people are asking, oh, should I set up a TikTok profile as a brand? And yes, you could set one up, but you're probably not going to be able to just generate the massive amount of content that you need to really get it up there. So you could, yes, set it up, trickle in some content, but really leverage people that do it regularly and do it frequently and are, you know, on trend to be able to integrate your brand into that trend.
Going back to hashtags for just a sec, and we didn't talk about this before, so it's a genuine curiosity. For me, I'm not a marketer. I've always assumed hashtags are like an afterthought. At the end of it, you just kind of like, hashtag this, hashtag that. For you, it's a driving, I mean,
we're doing hashtag analyses and market research. Like before even a campaign gets started, when we do a deep dive analysis on a particular product category, on a competitive analysis, what hashtags are the competitors using, what are their branded hashtags, you know, with their own company name in it, what are their hashtags tied to different campaigns that they're doing. So it might be like, you know, Black owned businesses, it would be like hashtag Black owned, or whatever the case may be, whatever that hashtag is, and then other topics that are relevant. So there are ones, you know, even for this chair right here, you know, you could say hashtag work from home, and hashtag work from home had so many, you know, uses of that hashtag that it would make sense for this brand to tie in that hashtag as part of their strategy. So you would have your branded hashtag, and then you have your, you know, wider hashtags that can be used so that you show up as part of those relevant conversations. But that's what the pre-planning should include, and that's what the influencer contracts include too, is you're required to use these hashtags in your content, as well as the hashtag advertisement for FTC reasons.
Eric, does that apply to the paid media in TikTok?
Yeah, it's the same.
Same deal.
Yeah, hashtags are very important on TikTok.
All right, so let's get down to the direct response nitty gritty, the costs, the results, and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, this is all about spending money on media, driving media to get a purchase, right? At the end of the day, it's all about the results. And I have to say, we're 40 minutes into this. For being down one panelist, I think we did all right. We didn't have to like keep repeating ourselves to spread out the time. It's good. So number one, let's go with Lindsey. On the influencer side, and you alluded to this earlier, so I don't know if there's anything you can expand upon. How do the influencer costs compare to Instagram on TikTok?
They're far less. I mean, you get a bigger reach from a TikTok influencer, but the thing is, I would also focus on quality of content, because there are things to look for, like what does the lighting look like, and is this person gonna accidentally drop an F-bomb, or you know, how much of a loose cannon is this person, or you know, what types of conversations or what other brands do they represent, you know. So you know, if I'm representing a children's product, I want to make sure that they're not doing like stuff in the adult industry or whatever the case may be. Like I would be looking to see what other products they're affiliated with. Are they affiliated with other brands? But I mean, it is a lot cheaper to use a TikTok influencer versus a Instagram influencer, but you also get what you pay for too.
Right. Is that the fact that they're cheaper? Is that because they are newer to being an influencer, or is it because their audience is smaller than what they may have had or do currently have, even on their Instagram?
Could be either or. Could be either of those scenarios. And you can tie it into an overall package. I mean, like we work with influencers that we can get content from YouTube, we can get content for Instagram, and we can also get TikTok content. So a TikTok content is kind of like the added thing. It's like going to Starbucks and you also get a croissant. So like, okay, I want my, you know, vanilla latte, and I'll take the croissant too. So, you know, throw in some TikTok content for me as well. So, and then we can repurpose that for whatever we want to use it for.
Thank you. Eric, on the paid media side of things, does it cost as much as you know, Facebook?
I've seen costs considerably lower on TikTok as well compared to Facebook. I've seen Facebook costs go up over the last year or two quite a bit, at least with my clients. Just as an example, one example I was looking at earlier this week, one client that we're running ads on both Facebook and TikTok, and on Facebook we're at about 38 to 39 CPM. It's a higher price item. And on TikTok, it's about $8 CPM. So getting in front of people is much cheaper. As far as the monetary and financial component, the ROI though is where I haven't seen, you know, even in that example I just gave, the Facebook campaigns were still more profitable. Better.
Really? Okay. So it's cheaper, but like Lindsey said earlier, you're getting what you pay for.
But I will say that gap is getting closer and closer, and I'm optimistic that, you know, it's just kind of figuring out those little things, what works and what doesn't. And
so you know, it's funny. It brings up a point. Do you think it's because maybe we don't know and exactly how to do it right yet, and everybody's just kind of ready, fire, aim, or is it just because of the audience and because of the medium and the platform that maybe it'll never be as good just because of the way it works?
I think there's multiple factors. I think what you said is applicable, where people just don't know what they're doing yet. I think the audience is a little bit different, but there's other things that are shifting rapidly, like the audience is changing on TikTok. It's becoming more older demographics, people that have money, and more people that probably most advertisers want to get in front of. So I think there's multiple factors contributing to that, but I feel like it's trending towards, in general, just better performance. And that's the direction it's going.
Have either of you heard of or seen firsthand, are there certain categories, certain things that you would think make sense for TikTok, or certain things that just do not make sense for TikTok? You know, if somebody's selling a meatloaf pan, is TikTok the right place versus makeup?
I would say more lifestyle items, kind of what you see, like fashion and entertainment, beauty and entertainment, some of those types of items. I mean, people are doing cooking videos too. So, I mean, it could maybe be more like product placement type of opportunities, that you want to have, you know, big TikTokers using your pans or using your items there. So that could be an opportunity, but I think it would be more on the, you know, fashion lifestyle end of things. Just kind of like Snapchat is really great for event marketers and really, really big brands. It wasn't great for performance marketers because the metrics just weren't.
But we tried
amazing.
it, right? I mean, that's a beautiful thing about direct response, right? It's like shiny new objects come along all the time, and this happens to be a very large shiny new object, right? So this isn't just a passing fad, clearly, but you know, there's always something that is new and exciting, and it's either going to take our business to the moon and back or put us out of business, right? And it's always neither. It falls in the middle every single time. And you know, Snapchat's a great example, right? It's, oh my God, everybody's on Snapchat now. Let's advertise on Snapchat. And it hasn't really panned out for direct response, at least product advertisers, right? You have a thing to sell. Maybe Snapchat's not the best place to put that all your money. It's possible. I mean, let's just kind of theorize here. TikTok's not going to go that way, right? It's not going to be the wrong thing, right? It's, you know, Snapchat, great for events, not great for products. TikTok's probably in the game. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I don't think TikTok's going to disappear. You know, Snapchat's around, but yeah, let's admit, like, it's not anywhere people should be spending their money, especially if you're in, you know, selling products. Clubhouse is another example. That was kind of big hype for a while, and just like, now just stop hearing about it, you know, constantly. One other thing I will say to your question, Greg, about what kind of categories, I do feel like lifestyle type products are better, innovative products. But I also feel like the brand itself is a huge component on if TikTok can work, like what Lindsey was saying earlier, like being more vulnerable, using humor, like being okay with not having everything professional. You know, if you're like trying to decide if you should have purple or blue on your website, or, oh, we need to have one more African American in it. Like, if that's the culture of a company, it's probably, TikTok's not a good place for you. But if you can be more free and open, like pans, you know, if you're willing to get your pans in front of some people and have them, and maybe they're those tin disposable pans, and you put it in somebody's face and it makes a mark, you know, and you do something funny, like that's a common everyday commodity product. But you can, if you're willing to kind of do something that fits within the TikTok culture, then I feel like you have a better chance of it working. Yeah.
All right, last question. This is the $1 million question. I'm saying it's the last question, so Tom's prepared that this is our last question. $1 million question. We'll start with Eric. If you had $1,000 to spend in paid media, and you had to distribute that amongst social media platforms, how much of that $1,000 does TikTok get?
Interesting question. I mean, if I had $1,000, I mean, I would put 10 to 20% in that, in a kind of experimental campaign. But if that's all you have, I wouldn't do any of it. It's just not worth the effort of, you know.
So it's not like Google Ads where you can buy a click for 5 cents and
you can, but I think because of all that, everything else I spoke about, like, if you want to do it right, it does take a little bit more time, especially once you get up and going, because again, you can't just copy, you know, use the same video you used on a Facebook ad and throw it in there. If that's what you're planning on doing, just don't waste your money. Just keep it somewhere else. But if you're spending more, you know, 10 to 50,000 a month, and you can put a couple thousand into a campaign, especially your first one, to just kind of get a baseline of if this is going in the right direction or not, then I feel like that would be more.
So the answer changes. The answer changes if it's 10,000 instead of 1,000.
Yeah, and if you're willing to do it right, like if you're just gonna haphazardly do it, then don't bother.
All right, then I'm going to adapt the question for Lindsey. Lindsey, you have $10,000 and you need to spend that in social media. How do you how much does TikTok get?
I would spend $2,000, 10,000, not 1,000, right?
You have $10,000.
Okay. I would take 2,000 and pay it to the TikTok influencer, get a ton of TikTok content, and own it outright, worldwide rights in perpetuity, and take their content and do a paid advertising campaign with conversion ads on Facebook and get sales from their content.
I love it. So use TikTok to create the content because it's really good and engaging content, but actually put that content in front of a Facebook audience.
Yep, absolutely.
That's actually really smart. I like that. That's cool. All right. I'm out of questions. I mean, I got a couple others, but I think we've hit the good stuff. Any closing remarks? It's perfectly cool to say, nope, I have no closing remarks. And then we'll have Tom hop back in.
I mean, I'll just say, yeah, I don't think TikTok's going away. I think it's worth, even if you don't jump into it now, at least keep your eye on it. You know, when the time's right, dip your toes in it and see if it can work for your company or not.
You know, and I'm going to build on that before Lindsey. Probably a good conclusion, you know, as moderator, is that FOMO is a real thing. You know, you hear TikTok, you're like, oh my God, we're not on TikTok. Are we missing the boat? Is this, you know, are all our competitors on TikTok and are other people crushing it? And I get the impression the answer is a resounding no, that you're not really missing the boat. It's still in its infancy. In you know, as it pertains to performance marketers, right? So people who are spending money and they need a result on that media spend. FOMO is probably misguided, is how I'll recap what you just said, Eric. So over to you, Lindsey.
I would dabble in it and understand when you dabble in it, what the experience is, because the experience, if you dabble in it today, is probably going to be different than the experience if you dabble in it 6 months from now or 12 months from now. I have to believe that with the amount of traffic and the massive number of the viewership alone, there has to be a massive amount of investment that's going into getting everything organized and segmented, and, you know, all the metrics on the back end that advertisers will need to be able to spend money there. I think a lot more money is going to get pumped into this platform, like big investment money, and whether it happens in the next 6 months or 24 months or whatever the case may be, you could have first mover advantage. So it's worth dabbling in and having an experience with it, and knowing that was your experience today, and your experience, you know, a year from now might be totally different. So don't just turn it off, turn your nose up to it just because it didn't work out once.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Tom, we down one panelist, man. We filled up pretty close to the hour. I think we did all right.
Nailed it. Great job, guys. Wonderful work. You drew the questions out of the audience as well, which is always a good sign. Yeah, it's a good sign. So we're going to go into a few of them. I don't know if we're going to get to all of them, but we're going to go into a few of them. First one I'm going to pop to is TikTok, and this is open season for anyone. Is TikTok more of an upper funnel brand builder or a lower funnel conversion driver as compared to Facebook or Instagram?
Upper, 100%. Yeah.
It's a really good question.
Seems like we have a consensus, a pretty quick consensus. Next up, what's the best practice for DR advertisers to track performance with TikTok influencers since there are not links in the creative?
I would focus on, I mean, they'll tell you what the impressions are. They'll tell you the audiences. That's really, you have impressions. So that's part of the issue. I think from an advertising perspective, you know, tracking pixels, Eric can speak to, but that's why we like to take their content, use it in a Facebook ad, and then be able to track it all the way through and actually measure conversions, because we're assuming that their organic content, you're going to get no sales, no conversions from. It's just for brand awareness and reach, which to most people is throwing money down the toilet. So I would look at that as two parts. I wouldn't just put money toward influencers just for the sake of having influencers. I would put money toward influencers, own their content, turn their content into ads, and then put budget behind their ads and measure it 100% like you would with any other paid campaign. So that's how I'd answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, on the advertising side, obviously there's tracking pixel, but on the influencer side, I don't have as much experience there, but I think Lindsey answered that one pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Great. Got one for Eric here about advertising performance.
Sorry, one more thing. You can put a code. You can put it like a discount code or something like that. So that is trackable, but not everybody will use it. Some people won't use it. So that's what people do with influencer content organically, is that they will use a code. And so yes, you could attribute it toward that one specific influencer, but
so Lindsey, does that differ? Does that differ from Instagram? Does Instagram have a clickable link that for an influencer's campaign?
Oh, like that only if you have so if you have more than a certain number of followers, then you would have a clickable link on a story.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And TikTok doesn't have an equivalent to that yet.
No, but what I was suggesting is it could go in the copy the same way that a hashtag would, and then somebody could type it in, but you're seeing so much stuff you're probably not even going to remember.
Right. Yeah, that's a big difference. All right, sorry, Tom.
No, go ahead. That's fine. Overall advertising performance, Eric, you've had buying with ads on TikTok. Have you seen good MERs, or are MERs even like a measurement that you use, traditional media efficiency ratio?
Yeah, we don't use MER. Yeah, we don't on TikTok.
Not there yet.
Not there yet. One for Lindsey. How much audience reach does an average influencer have on TikTok, and how does this compare to Instagram or Facebook?
I mean, Ty Pennington is somebody that we've worked with, and he one of his videos that was like some satire of him on the beach just got 12 million views, which is funny. Like he's like, this is hilarious. This just got 12 million views. And I know another person, her video just got 2 million views. So they have an obscene number of views that just happen, and people are like, oh my gosh, my video got this many views. But how meaningful are those views? I think it's, to Eric's point, like people being bored and people scrolling through, it's not because they're like on a mission to go buy, they're on a mission to just be entertained.
Distracted.
Yeah, or distracted. So on average, I don't know what the average is, because it depends on who you're using for your campaign. Like if I were focusing on golf influencers, that's a very targeted niche, versus focusing on beauty influencers, and that number is probably much wider. So I would say that the number of like the actual reach from the influencers would depend on the audiences and the age demographics too for each of those product categories that you're really focusing on.
Try to get a couple more in here depending on how we go. Would an on-camera pitch from a product owner work on TikTok? If so, why? If not, why not?
I think it could. I think that's because it's very personable. Again, going back to being a little vulnerable, like the actual owner of a business, if they're authentic and it's not hyped up, like they're just being real, I feel like that would be a great strategy.
Assuming they have an audience, right?
Funny.
Yeah, and if it was funny. Yeah, if it's just like, hey, buy this because of whatever. But
what is the brand of the soap with the guy in the woods that it's like, I forget the name of it, but it's just totally a satire on YouTube video. They went like huge on YouTube, and it's just some funny guy in the woods with the bar of soap could be hilarious for that type of pitch.
But wouldn't they need an audience for that? I mean, don't they have like, some business owner that's got 100 people, right? I mean, if they put it out there, is it fundamentally different than if they had, 100 followers on Facebook or Instagram? I mean, isn't it just going to be dead on the vine right there?
from like an organic.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah,
talking about organic, just posting as a
yeah. Or does TikTok behave a little differently? I mean, do things go viral on TikTok faster or more natively?
do.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So even if you don't, it's worth the shot. If the creative is right and the story is right and it's native to TikTok, it's worth doing.
So that's a huge difference is Facebook. Whatever you post, it's kind of limited to your own little world, your sphere. TikTok, it's not at all. Like it'll push it out to certain people, and if people like it, like the whole world is your audience. Everybody on TikTok. It's not limited to just your own friends and people that you're connected with.
I would warn though, from an FTC disclosure perspective, you should probably say that it is your product. I know that was kind of a hot spot in terms of disclosure. So if it is your company and you are, having a profile on TikTok and you're promoting your company, then you should establish what that connection is.
And I'll give a quick example. When I created my own TikTok account, first video, I just found some random video of my daughter, threw it up there, put some music on. I got like 600 views, which isn't amazing, but I wasn't connected to a single person.
Oh, interesting.
Like nothing, and it, that wouldn't happen on Facebook if you created an account,
right?
Connected to one or two friends, and you wouldn't get 500 views on a video.
Try to get one more in here for Eric. Do you have a quick anecdote about what you think your most successful TikTok creative has been to date? Why do you think it hit, and can you duplicate that success?
I don't know if I haven't had one specific that was just outperformed everything else. I'd say in general though, if you haven't downloaded TikTok, that would be the first step. Download TikTok, create an account, and just look at it. Look at what pops up. The more that you can mimic native content on TikTok, that's what I found to be the most successful in general. So hasn't been one in particular that's just outshone all the rest, but in general, anything that I do that is more native performs much better. So that's probably the best answer I can give there.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate the time. Eric, to your point about creating a TikTok account for yourself and shooting a video of your daughter, my wife did the same thing a few weeks ago, just out of the blue, created a video account. She made a video of me making a cocktail, and like 3 days later, she looks at it and she's like, 800 people have watched this.
Yeah. Right.
Like, oh God, that's horrifying.
Sorry.
Anyway, but yeah, it's crazy the numbers that just happen on TikTok based on what people are scanning through and watching, right? So thank you to each of you, Eric, Lindsey, Greg, wonderful work. Thank you to the PDMI E-Commerce Council for bringing us the event today. If you're a PDMI member and would like to get involved, you can reach out to me directly to share your interest in the E-Commerce Council. Both Greg and Lindsey are members, or any of our other 4 councils today. Your next opportunity to attend a PDMI event live online is the next edition of Take 20, our bi-monthly 20-minute webinar series created by the PDMI's Brand Response Council. That event is set for next Wednesday, March 2nd at 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and we'll preview what you can expect from PDMI East, our in-person event slated for March 13th through 15th in Miami Beach. For more information and to register for the webinar, please visit thepdmi.com/take-20. And to join us, your cohorts and your competitors in Miami Beach for PDMI East, I'll tell you what, registration is booming in recent weeks since we've had so much good news about the Omicron variant fading, and people are jumping at and chomping at the bit to join us. You can visit thepdmi.com/PDMI-East and register today. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your work week. Take care. Be well. Bye-bye.